Ready? Here's my take. It's not even a hot take. I'm probably gonna turn this into a video too. So for video's sake, I apologize. I have no script. We're just going off the top of the head. All right. Dungeons are fantastic. Love them. I just want to start off with that. I love all of the dungeons, every single one. Excellent content. I think it is the epitome of Bungie's endgame content. It's their creative endgame team at its finest, showcases everything that they've done. You know, obviously raids are pinnacle endgame, day one raid races as well, and dungeons are fantastic. You know, we love them. We love them here. I love them. Many people love them. I don't really know many people that fucking just hate dungeons. Even the shitty dungeons are still fun. It's still good content, and I hope that Bungie continues to provide us with dungeons. I just want that to be known. This is not a complaint about dungeons at all. I love them. Keep them coming, Bungie. We love them. Okay. In many ways, dungeons are better than raids, honestly. Sometimes it's hard to find, you know, 6 people to do a full raid, to get a whole group together. It's harder to manage a big group. Raids can be a little bit more complicated and more stuff to do. Dungeons, you can shut your brain off a little bit more. You know, it's a lot easier to swing together a quick group of 3 or even 2 or even 1, you know? And that's kind of where my point's getting here to, is dungeons are and were and always have been, and it seems that they will continue to be designed around the solo player. And we know that because all of the mechanics are always very solo friendly, and Bungie has literally put into the game solo triumphs, solo flawless triumphs, and emblems. They have put that into the game so that we know that they want as many people to solo the dungeon as possible. And a lot of things in Destiny are all about you know, inclusivity. They want as many people to have access to as many activities as possible. They want as many people to play the game as possible, and you know, that's fine. We have no issues with any of that, right? I've voiced my opinions on stream a handful of times, but I've never actually, like, you know, come out with a post or anything on our video. So that's kind of what I'm doing here. You know, our very first dungeon was Shattered Throne, and it was a wonderful experience to go through and figure out how to solo it, right? But dungeons now, for the solo player, they seem to be, and I'm talking like your typical average Destiny solo player who likes a little bit of challenge. I'm not talking about the fucking top 0.001%, you know, absolute warlord game and fucking sweat lord neckbeard fucking you know, multiple world first goddamn champion motherfucking goats, right? I'm not talking about those people. I'm talking about your average solo player, right? The dungeons don't have what I think is appropriate scaling for the solo. They give these dungeon bosses a fuck ton of health, almost more health, like as much or more health than some raid bosses. And first of all, they're designed for 3 players, and that's fine. The dungeon should feel tough for 3 players. I don't mind the team play in the dungeons. They can have the raid boss health for dungeons with 3 people. That's fine. But when you go in solo and the boss has just as much health as in a fire team, and then the other problem with this is they don't cap the phases, right? They leave it so that you don't have any sort of enrage timer, and there's no like required phases. So you have this really, what we're seeing now is the dungeons are launching with these bosses that have these really long, drawn out, like grueling and essentially like boring DPS, like encounters, like the length of the encounter, the amount of phases that you have to do solo to get these bosses killed, and unless you're using like something that is completely busted and broken, which you shouldn't have to do that for like a you know, a solo dungeon. We're not talking about a contest mode raid clear here. That's different. You know, you should, in a contest mode raid, one of the things that you should always have to do, which was one of the criticisms with Root of Nightmares, is you should have to optimize and get together with your team and plan and strategize and prepare and be ready to get in as much DPS as you can in 3 to 4 phases. That's how it should be for a contest mode raid. But we're not talking about a contest mode raid. We're talking about a regular normal mode activity that is designed around the solo player, that is taking your average player like 6 to 8 fucking phases, DPS phases. It gets to the point where it's not even like a challenge or impressive anymore. It's just fucking dog shit, boring and uneventful and not exciting to do, and players are getting less, like, players are not excited about that. And that's where I'm seeing this energy shift. Is I'm starting to see people, instead of be like, oh, dungeon, woo, yeah, ha, solo, I got solo flawless, I knocked it down to 2 to 3 phases. It's these people that are just like, bro, fuck me, this boss has 20 million health and it takes me 8 phases with a good build. Like, people are getting a little bit irritated with this, and that's why I'm here talking about this, because not only am I voicing my own opinions, but I'm voicing opinions of the community vibe that I see around me and my channel, with my channel being a PvE focused Destiny channel. So people do feel like it's a chore, and that they don't like, I've seen countless people say, wow, this boss has blah 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 health, this really good player took 6 phases to do, I'm gonna take like 12. Like, people are getting discouraged essentially into doing these solos. And I think it's the simplest solution ever. I think it's the simplest solution ever. And they've done it in Witch Queen campaign. They've done it in Lightfall campaign. So they can do it. All they have to do is scale the activity. That's it. That's it. Fucking scale the activity. When you load in solo, the boss has a portion of the health that it has with a fire team. That's fucking it. That's all you have to do. Just scale the activity to the solo player. That way your average or above average Destiny player who wants to go in and solo the dungeon can do it in, I think 3 to 4 phases is what it should be tested and launched at. Not 6 to 8, right? Your elite players, your speedrunners, they're going to be 1 phasing. That's how it works. Your best players in the world are going to be 1 phase in raid bosses, or they should be. That's not always the case these days. Your more average teams are going to be 2 phasing, 3 phasing. Like, everything should be based around that, because there is definitely such thing in this game as just too long. Like, when things are just drawn out and it becomes a chore, and it becomes boring, and people don't want to do it, and they become discouraged, and that is not what I want to see. That's not how players want to feel. That's not what friends of players want to feel. That's not what streamers want to see, and that's probably not what developers want to see. They want to see people enjoying their content, and this video is just to help to relay this message, and maybe we can get some feedback on this or something, or what their goal is. Because if their goal is to have these solos, have somebody solo a boss with unlimited damage phases, no timer, no enrage, and a bajillion fucking health, then fair enough. I mean, maybe just let us know, like, that's your plan and cool, but I just don't think that's the right thing to do, and it's definitely turning people off. So those are my thoughts. Yeah, and the solo flawless, like, nothing hurts more than dying to a solo flawless and knowing, oh great, I have to do all of this. I have to do this first boss, that's fucking 6 phases, and then I got to get to this boss, and that's 8 phases, And I'm aware that you can 4 phase the bosses, like, as is, right? The like, these chunkier dungeon bosses. I'm aware that you can, but it's requiring absolutely busted, broken, completely optimal builds, and I don't think it should be based 100% about that. I think people should be able to go in and use their skill and gameplay and get things done, and not have to use the captain of the fucking meta loadouts. Moth's OP. Yeah, I'm not we want difficulty, right? And this is what I know. We want difficult content. We've always liked difficult content. You know, I'm speaking specifically for a little bit more of the hardcore players, right? This isn't a complaint, because I know what people are going to say. You want difficult content, and then when they give you hard stuff, you bitch. No. There's a difference between difficult content, mechanically, stuff that demands you to do things with precision, stuff that demands you to play as a player. We like that stuff. Difficult content in the form of having to just draw out an encounter over and over and over to the point where it's just an endurance test. Now you're talking about like you're bordering on that like artificial difficulty. Like that's why people always have problems with you know, people get turned off with games that do bullet sponges as bosses. Like, hey, this is our difficult content. Everything is a bullet sponge. Like nobody likes that, because it's not like actually difficult. It's just artificially inflating the difficulty of the activity, and people don't like that. And that's what Bungie's teetering with here. Is we're starting to see multiple dungeons in a row now of just these chunky bullet sponges that nobody really enjoys that much, you know. So anyway, those are just my thoughts about Dungeon, and